Things were different on November 16, 1999. The NBA was still in the early steps of the post-Jordan era. Mambo No. 5 was the most popular song in America. And Arnold Schwarzenegger's End of Days was soaring to unseen cinematic heights. It was also the day that Bol Bol was born in Sudan to his legendary father, Manute Bol, who I'm sure you are aware of. Bol isn't as tall as his dad, but he is a mild-natured 7'2" and 235-pound center with soft hands and a gracefulness that surprises everyone who watches him. He first came onto our radar in 2012 when a mixtape of a paper-thin 6'5" 7th grader that could shoot threes and handle the ball went viral. A few years later, coming off of a truncated single year of college ball at Oregon, he enters the NBA draft, and that means we need to talk about his tall ass. Just watching on TV, it can be hard to get a grasp for just how large and overwhelmingly gifted NBA players are. We see their size and speed in relation to one another and not next to your average person, where they'd stick out. This leads people to say things like, I could score on Kyle Korver, or why aren't they stopping that 7-footer from shooting every time? We can lack perspective, and understandably, this can annoy NBA players. The point that I'm trying to make is that even among supremely large gifted athletes, Bol Bol's spectacular frame jumps off the screen. He's very thin and he's got a wingspan of 7'8" and a standing reach of 9'7". Some of this is a continuation of our discussion about Mo Bamba from a year ago, but going back to 2001 in the recorded history of the NBA Combine, there have only been a handful of players to have these kinds of measurements and still play significant minutes in the league. But among these physical rarities, Bol is likely the most offensively skilled, but near the bottom in strength and explosiveness. His feet are nimble, and he doesn't plod or lack timing or touch, but I wouldn't classify him as exceptionally agile or explosive laterally or vertically. As we said, Bol is very skilled for his size and build. To see a 7'2" guy have that kind of physical fluidity and comfort handling, passing, and shooting the ball, it's amazing to watch. Bol rarely looks clumsy. I've seen him in traffic bend over and pick up a loose ball and dribble in the open court and throw a bounce pass on a dime to a teammate. I've seen him shot fake beyond the arc, quickly reset his feet and bury a three. I've seen him shake and bake a defender on the perimeter and get all the way to the rim for a dunk. These are the moments where you're tantalized by what Bol Bol could become. In the 9 games that Bol played at Oregon this past season, he attempted 25 threes and knocked down 13 of them for a clip of 52%. Nearly all of those were catch-and-shoot threes. He does seem to lean forward a bit and hold the ball out in front of his chest just before going into his shot pocket, and that does give smaller defenders the chance to get a hand on the ball before he can let it fly. But it tends to go in. Bol's touch is displayed in other areas too. He has fantastic hands and reach on the offensive glass. He's comfortable finishing in the middle of the floor with floaters and runners, a shot that is damn near unstoppable if he puts himself in the position to take it, and he seems relatively comfortable doing these things on the move. Bol's also an adept passer out of the high and low posts, although there are some caveats that we'll have to talk about. With his back to the basket, he's accustomed to hitting off-ball cutters in his vicinity, and he can deliver those passes in a variety of ways. When he maintains position, he has good but inconsistent playmaking instincts. If Bol can get to his spots, his glimmers of potential are jaw-dropping. He's one of those players that will look fantastic in workouts and have executives leaning over to each other and whispering, "Holy shit." Bol's incredible physical qualities are a double-edged sword. They set him up to both succeed and fail, creating a neutral and sometimes negative effect that I worry could lower his ceiling. Defensively in college, Bol rarely made what we call out-of-area plays. This might be a result of Dana Altman keeping Bol near the rim, in zone, for a lot of his 9-game sample size at Oregon. In the NBA, that won't continue. If you're within reach, his hands are quick and coordinated enough to block several shots in a row, but his appetite for destruction around the rim otherwise can be lacking. So what gives a player the ability to make out-of-area plays? I would argue that it's 4 things. The first is motor. Does a player have the inherent fire in the belly, the sheer ability to tirelessly grind during a possession to pursue a play that might not technically be their responsibility? Bol can seem disengaged and unmotivated to really fly around and mix it up when it comes to weak side contests or incoming actions at the rim. The second is tools. This one is self-explanatory, but if you're big and athletic, you can cover more ground. Although he is huge, coordinated, and fluid, I wouldn't say that Bol is impressive at changing directions quickly in space. He's also fairly easily taken out of plays because of his lack of strength. Third is awareness. What's going on around you? Which of your teammates are getting screened? What does a particular player like to do? How long can you focus on these types of questions and stay on top of them without making a mistake? This is an area where I think Bol could and probably will improve as he matures. Last is pride. Do you give a shit? Is it embarrassing to you when someone scores on you? I don't know that Bol has that in him. Just my opinion, but guys are typically born with this quality. The best defensive bigs in the NBA check all of these boxes, at least a lot of the time. I'm not saying that Bol whiffs on all four, but a majority of the time he only for sure checks one of them. That is, he's always big. This comes into question on the glass, too. During Bol's availability, Oregon only played 3 teams that I would classify as high major competition, and his effectiveness as a defensive rebounder cut nearly in half when he was playing against better competition. Again, a small sample, but something to think about. On offense, Bol's approach and build make him limited as a screener. His technique can and should improve, but his slender frame is a minor inconvenience for the on-ball defender. And that impact trickles down. This makes it difficult for him to be a productive pick-and-roll partner and often blows up the play before it can even take place. This might be why I saw Oregon guards frequently rejecting his screens. Much like Mo Bamba, his slight frame also makes him easily compromised around the rim when he attempts to make any kind of a move. Bol is very often leaning away from the basket and being forced to take extremely challenged angles when he's attempting to score. His length helps him work with those angles, but it's only going to get more difficult. With his back to the basket, he almost always depends on the chicken wing with his left arm to create separation. He's prone to making up his mind immediately about what he wants to do and forcing that idea, even if it yields ugly results. I also worry that Bol's charming ability to handle the ball away from the basket will struggle to be applicable. Since his perimeter shot is more easily contested than you would like, I wonder if it won't be a big deal to put a smaller, agile defender on him and just crowd him and make him a driver. Bol will have to work on getting that shot up higher, quicker, and sharpening that offensive repertoire so that he can attack those physical advantages with some consistency as the competition improves. Precedent doesn't always predict the future, but it could help us predict whether Bol is a specialized tool that you use in spurts or if he's a load-bearing structure that you can build around. Of the players in the NBA over 7 feet tall, only 21 of them logged over 20 minutes of action a game this past year. Of those 21 players, only 8 of them were under 250 pounds. The list of players over 7 feet tall that averaged over 30 minutes per game is even shorter, and it's a list that I'm not entirely sure that Bol Bol is poised to be a part of for a number of reasons. On that list is Rudy Gobert, a Defensive Player of the Year and 2-time All-Defensive Team player, despite what his detractors might have you believe.
Strong men also cry.
The others are Karl Anthony Towns, Lauri Markkanen, and Kristaps Porzingis, who I'm including even though he didn't play this past year. Each of these players is historically talented on the offensive end at their position. I'm just not convinced that Bol has that level of build, offensive feel, grit, or consistency to join that group. I present these 4 players to give an idea of just how difficult it is to be Bol's size and weight and remain a heavy contributor for a competitive team in today's NBA. At the very least, high contribution NBA players with weaknesses have to offer some kind of significant trade-off. In my opinion, Bol's best chance at being a major plus as an NBA player is as a defensive anchor. The variables that'll dictate whether or not that happens are within his control. Is he driven enough to control them? The idea of a 7'2" guy that could potentially protect the rim at a high level and space the floor on the offensive end is a very attractive one. Outside factors aside, in the modern NBA, this would seem like a no-brainer gamble in an NBA draft this devoid of surefire stars. But there are some sobering questions. Context is going to matter, perhaps more than normal. If a team with a cloudy future, poor organizational culture, and a crappy track record of player development rolls the dice on him, this could go poorly. If he's mentored correctly and allowed to come along at his own pace, he has the tools to become a starter-level defensive anchor and a capable offensive contributor. This context idea is true for most players, but I feel like it's especially true with Bol. Also, warning, 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 gigantic red flag. Bol suffered a navicular stress fracture in his left foot this past year and opted for surgery to repair it. That's reason to squirm if you're thinking about pulling the trigger on a 7'2" center who loves to play on the perimeter, could stand to add some weight, and up his activity on defense. Just saying.
I have such doubts.
The Bol proposition is something that could really pay off, or it could be something that pisses off a fan base for years as he struggles to stay on the floor. In my gut, I don't think that I would have the stomach to take the chance. But in a draft like this one, this might be the year to do it. Let me know if you agree. Hey folks, I appreciate you watching, and if you like this video, click the like button and be sure to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter at JKyleMan. Say hey.